You can't look at them. Well, at least not directly. They only appear as shadows or dark figures. You won't be able to touch them or interact with them in any way. You will strain against their power to no avail, losing any hope for retribution. It will leave you with nothing but haunting memories of the terror that is helplessness, hopelessness, knowing that you can do nothing, no matter what you try. The first time it happened, I was visiting my mother at the family home. My little sister still lived there, and after a brief conversation with both of them, we decided to go to bed. It had been a really long drive into the city, and I was feeling fatigued enough to forego any television or phone games. Since my old room was being renovated, I had to sleep on the couch. It was more than adequate and quite comfortable, so there was no complaint from me. I'm sure that it was less than 15 minutes before I was fast asleep. This was around 11:30 p.m. The incident occurred at about 3 a.m. So that you understand what happened that night, I'll give you an idea where each of us slept. The couch was in the living room facing inward, right outside of my sister's room, which had no door due to the renovations. From the front of the house, her room was in the front on the right side. Walking in the door, there was the foyer and a hallway to the left, where the main rooms of the house reside. My old room was at the end of the hallway, on the left side of the house. There was another bedroom or guest room before you get to mine. The master bedroom was next to mine, and directly across from the other room. The bathroom is the first door on the right when you go down that hallway. From the foyer, you can walk directly into the kitchen. To the right of the kitchen is the living room. So try to assemble the image. When I awoke, I couldn't move any of my limbs. It was a numbness that produced a dull ache all over, and I wanted to cry out. Yet the only thing that came out was this low moan. It was so low, in fact, it might as well have been a whisper. I tried to raise my head, but it was like pushing against a building. A few seconds into it, I see a shadow pass in front of me, and I assume it's my sister, but it stops at the end of the couch and looks. I can't make out the face, and it's all shadow. I know my sister's shape, and whatever this was, it didn't move like her. It wasn't shaped like her, and I think it was trying to move past me unnoticed, but it must have heard my moan. I'm sure if anyone in my family had seen me, they would have known I was in distress. This thing, whatever it was, had no interest in helping. It was dark in the room, but not dark enough to ignore the look in my eyes. The terror that was there, it can't be mistaken. But it stood there for what I would think was 30 seconds. The whole time, I'm trying to scream. Inwardly, I'm raging. I'm thrashing against the unseen shackles, convulsing. Then, slowly, just as it had walked into frame, it walked out, towards the foyer. Even then, I was still attempting to scream. The back of the couch blocked my view, so once it was out of sight, I was able to move again. It was like the breaking of bonds, and I sat violently upright and yelled as loud as I could. My sister came out of her room in a panic, understandably. She yelled at me and said, "What the hell is going on?" I stopped yelling when I saw her. Since she came from the opposite direction the thing went, there could be no confusing the two. I asked her anyway, just to make sure I wasn't cracking up. Did you just come out of your room a few seconds ago? To go to the bathroom or something? She said she did, but that it had been over an hour ago. She had been sleeping before I woke her up with my wailing. I just looked at her, incredulous, not sure if she was just fucking with me. However, my sister doesn't even do practical jokes. It's far removed from her character. Was somebody over then? Your boyfriend? No. Why? What happened? There was something here. Somebody was here. I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. It was like it was forcing me down, holding me there until it could go. She raised her eyebrows at this and said she didn't hear or see anything, just me screaming my head off. From there, I just got up and went to the front door. I looked out and saw nothing out of sorts. I even opened the door and stepped out on the porch. More of nothing. I shut the door and came back inside. I went into the hall and checked all the rooms, and there, not surprising, was nothing. Lastly, I checked my mother's room. The reason why I knew it couldn't have been my mother was that she's older and a bit overweight. She couldn't have moved like that no more than could my sister. It was just silly to assume. It's like trying to make a puzzle piece fit into a space that it obviously doesn't go. Occam's razor states that the least complicated hypothesis is likely the best. It's easier to think that my mother was the culprit, but it wasn't plausible. Her TV is always on in her room, so I heard that going in addition to her snoring. My mother is a pretty light sleeper, so I knew the moment I opened the door she'd wake up. Still, she never has a problem going back to sleep. I have done this numerous times throughout our lives, so I knew it wasn't gonna be a big deal. When I opened the door, she immediately stopped snoring, but didn't get up. I went over to her bed, and she was already looking at me through sleepy eyes. Somewhat perturbed, she asked me what was going on. I told her that I think there was someone in the house and wondered if she had company late. She tells me no, and to get out of her room and close the door. I asked her if anyone else has a key to the house, to which she says no again. Then, leave me alone, I'm sleeping. We've had a couple of conversations since then, with no resolution. I looked into the sleep paralysis phenomenon. It's not uncommon for people to see ghosts or other figures while this is happening. Oddly enough, almost a week after that, it happened to me again in my own home. There was no dark figure present, but there was a presence that I felt. I hope it never happens again because it is genuinely one of the most frightening things ever.